Honestly, there were always glimpses, there were always moments, but I'll tell you when I had no choice, and that was when my son was diagnosed with autism.
Hello. Welcome to Vroom, Vroom, Veer. Thank you for being here. Today's guest is Tracy Goodwin of Captivate the Room, captivatetheroom.com. So this was a lot of fun. She kind of fell into one of those YouTuber nicknames, and she inadvertently became the Red Sweater Lady. And we talk about how that happened and the good sides and bad sides about having a YouTube nickname and dragging a red sweater around. So she teaches people how to captivate the room live on camera, acting behind the mic. She's a specialist in voice technique, and she teaches massive confidence, basically by, dealing with the technical side, but then, building up the confidence as you go. You can't just teach confidence. So she's had a lot of fun and a lot of challenges, just like everybody else in her Vroomy Veery life. We talk a little bit about some of her struggles and how she had to find her voice. And that was a really fun conversation and stuff I didn't know. It's not on our webpage. So listen up. This is a good one. We laugh a lot. And by the way, just before you complain, Tracy was in like some sort of outdoor setting, and there's lots of bird sounds that I really love. So if you don't love those, I'm sorry in advance. Anyway, here is my chat with Tracy Goodwin of CaptivateTheRoom.com. Enjoy.
Are you ready to thoughtfully steer away from your revved up, frenzied, and far too often scripted life? Then welcome to Vroom Vroom Veer with Jeff Smith, where he guides you down the road differently traveled by sharing unique experiences with guests who have managed to shift away from a life stuck on cruise control and veered their way into a more authentic and fulfilling one in all sorts of interesting and kind of remarkable ways. Get ready to Vroom Vroom Veer with your differently traveled road chauffeur, Jeff Smith.
Hello, Tracy Goodwin. Welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Hey, I am so glad to be here. I am really thrilled and honored that you asked me to do the show. I'm super excited about this.
Yeah, I had fun listening to you talk to my friend Jared Easley the other day, and you guys were having fun teasing his buddy Kamanzi about being a Taylor Swift fan, which they do on every show, I think.
Right. Those guys are a hoot. Guys are a hoot.
They're hilarious. That's a great show. And Jared's such a great guy.
Oh my gosh, what a great guy.
Yeah.
He was recommended to me, and I thought, yeah, right, this guy doesn't know me from Adam. I mean, just boom, just stepped in and
He's
just
a
really.
sweetie.
Yeah, he's just a good guy.
Yeah, good people. He was on my show. We learned so much about each other.
Oh wow!
We had a lot in common, and we neither one of us knew. Right? It was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good guy. I like him. I like them both a lot.
Yep. I don't know Kamanzi that much. I've never met him other than listening to the show. But yeah, he seems like a really nice guy too.
Yeah, he's a hoot.
All right, well, let's get into this thing.
Let's do it.
So talk a little bit about what you first thought of when you saw Vroom Vroom Veer. What popped into your brain?
Hurry up.
I love it. Hurry up.
I thought, this is my kind of show, because feel like I'm always in a hurry.
Yes. Well, actually, part of the hidden message is, yes, we're all vrooming, but wouldn't it be cool if we could just slow down?
Oh my gosh. If you've got that in a bottle to sell, I don't care what the cost is. I will PayPal you right now.
Wow. Slow down in a bottle.
Oh, yeah. Hey, we should talk about that. Maybe we could create that. We could become millionaires.
We could be billionaires. Slow down in a bottle.
Yes. Because I tell you what, man, oh man, that's something everybody needs to do.
Amen. Yeah. So let's get into this red sweater lady story, because that's fascinating to me. How did there must be a veer, or at least a fun story about how you became known as the red sweater lady.
Well, I get asked that question a lot, and I sometimes think I should really, create some amazingly fantastic, delightful story about that, because I think that's sometimes what people expect. But really, it's the craziest story ever. I was hired by a production company in Austin, Texas, to come and do, well, it ended up being about 60 or 80. I think it was about 80 videos as a speaking expert on presentation skills and voice technique. And when I got in there, they discovered that, I really knew a lot of different things. So I think it turned into like 80 videos. I did
Wow.
not know at the time that I was shooting these things for eHow. I had no idea. I just knew I was getting a paycheck at what I did. And
Okay.
that was great. That was good for me.
Right.
And I got there, and I was ready to go. I had my first video prepped. I knew exactly what we were doing, and I introduced myself, and the director goes, "Cut." And I'm like, "What? What? What? What did I do?" And he said, "Well, we have to call you something." And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" And he said, "Well, you have to have a name." And I said, "Well,
I have
Tracy,
a name.
Tracy Goodwin is
Tracy, right?
what
Right.
that's the, no, you got to have a name." And I said, "I don't know what you should call me." Well, I had that red sweater on. And he said, well, how about the red sweater lady? And I liked it. And it stuck. And so for every one of those videos, I'm wearing that red sweater. And I never thought about it again. I tell you what, I never thought about it again until those videos hit eHow, and all of a sudden people are seeking me out, trying to find the red sweater lady from all over the world. So I'm like, okay, so I guess that's my brand.
Yeah. Right. Right. Well, that could have been worse.
I know. But foresight, or hindsight, or whatever it is, if I'd only known, I
Right.
might have come up with something, a little snappier.
But I kind of like it.
Well, a lot of people love it. A lot of people are like, you got to change that. But a lot of people love it. And I've actually tried to get away from it for a couple of, a couple of times, but that's how people around the world know me.
Right.
And so even if I veer away from it, like I'm doing right now with Captivate the Room, I'm doing this whole new setup.
Sure.
I am still getting more hits on Red Sweater Lady.
Of course. Because,
That's just how
it's
people
got
know.
traction now.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think that was about 7 years ago, maybe 8 when I did that. So, that's been around. Those videos have been around a long, long time. So I guess I'm the red sweater lady. And literally now people will hire me to come and speak or do a class or whatever. And every time they say, are you going to wear the red sweater?
Wow.
I still have the same red sweater, and I still wear it every time I teach and every time I speak, and in almost all of my videos that I still make today.
Yeah. I think I looked at your website. You got a red you got a
Always
red
have
sweater
red on. Yep, always have red on. Always.
Now, let me
And,
ask, is it always the same red sweater, or does it just have to be red?
Well, I still have that same red sweater.
You have the
and
same
depending
one. Okay.
Oh, yes. 2 of the buttons are broken. It's starting to get a little. I ran into a tree limb, and it has a little snag in it. But
It's a little
for the
frayed
most
around the
part,
edges, huh?
It's just like me, a little frayed around the edges. But yeah, if I most of the gigs I'll wear the red sweater. In fact, for a while, even on my one-on-one sessions, I would wear the red sweater. But I always wear red, but most of the time I wear the red sweater.
Okay.
It's kind of funny.
It is fun. Well, it's a fun story. I still think it's a fun story. And
Yeah.
it's, I've heard this from YouTubers, right? Is like they have to go in there and have that catch, something about the internet. You can't just go in there and be Jeff Smith or something or
No,
Tracy Goodwin.
no.
No, you have to have some sort of goofy name, especially in video, right? Something,
Yeah.
Searchable and a little silly, I guess.
Well, it worked for PewDiePie. I mean, really? Okay.
Yeah.
You're a billionaire and I'm not.
Right. Right. The world we live in now, right?
Oh my gosh.
Who could have ever imagined? Okay.
Not this girl.
So Now, you have been doing public speaking since the age of 12. So
Yep.
there's got to be a story there. How did that happen?
Well, oh gosh, where to even begin? I was my family constantly told me I was a difficult child, and I think they probably were right. But and I don't say that anymore because of course I was smart. I was smart different, but I wasn't good at academics. Forget about sports.
Okay.
And I could have easily, at the age of 12, gone down a not good path. And found theater and speech, and it saved me. I think that's one of the reasons I'm so passionate about it. I did a play first, and of course, I absolutely loved it. And then I went on and started doing speaking, but I was good at it. I was,
Right. You
and
weren't
it
afraid,
gave
right?
me the feedback. No, never. In fact, it's just rush for me. Because to just to be able to know you're affecting other people at the age of 12 was profound for me. And so I did speech competitions in school, but that started when I was 12, but I think by the time I was 14, I actually won my very first speaking award. I did the Southern Baptist Convention from Texas originally. They have a youth speakers tournament, and I won it. Went all
Wow.
the way to state.
Wow.
And then I did that several years in a row because it was just, I think everybody has something that they're really good at. And I think some people find it when they're 12, and I think some people find it when they're 48. And I don't think it matters when you find it because you're going to find it and it's in there.
Yeah.
And I was really lucky. It was my thing. I was good at it. I excelled at it and went on. I mean, I've been doing that kind of work in a lot of different forms my whole career, and I'm going to be 50 in a few weeks. So that's, what's that? See, I don't do
Congratulations.
math, but
Yep.
that's like 38 years,
That's
I just did
amazing.
math.
Yeah.
right?
In public. Watch out.
I know. Oh my gosh. See, they're going to start, Harvard's going to call me next week. They're going to be like, we've got an opening in the physics department. I'm going to be like, all right, I'm on my way.
So now on your yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no. The thing about that made me go on your website was you said something about on your about page how even though you started doing the public speaking and using your gift at such a young age, there was something keeping you back from sharing your voice. Mm-hmm. You weren't allowed to share your voice, I think is what you said?
No, I
Okay.
wasn't. And really that's really the most profound piece of the whole story, of the
Yeah.
whole journey. And I've really come full circle to it. And it's so I mean this in a negative way on any level because I was raised by very loving parents, gave me everything I could have ever imagined. But we were raised, and, I had a pretty controlling mother, and we were not allowed to express what we felt. We
Right.
weren't allowed to get mad. We weren't allowed to dislike anything. We were raised that you look nice and you sit pretty and you dress for dinner. And then, children, it was the concept of children are to be seen and not to be heard.
Right.
And so I had this voice that desperately I had a soul that wanted to express itself and was not allowed. And so I went a lot of different directions in the same field trying to get my voice out. But that was my greatest fear, was getting my voice out. And that's what where I got the most accolades, was getting my voice out. So it was really, it's been a very conflicting life. I'm exhausted.
Well, was there a moment that you can remember when you first were able to get over that? Like when, let's say in your adult life and now your parents don't have as much direct control over you, but I'm sure their programming is still holding you back from the inside. But when, what age or what time frame in your life did you really start being able to express your voice to the world?
Yesterday at about 4 o'clock. No, I'm totally kidding. I'm totally messing with you.
Which is great because you just wrote that webpage on I wasn't able to allow. Now I am.
I know, right? I know.
Yeah.
I know. Honestly, there were always glimpses, there were always moments, but I'll tell you when I had no choice, and that was when my son was diagnosed with autism.
Wow. My goodness.
And
At what
he didn't
age?
he at the age of 2, he was diagnosed with autism. I always knew something was wrong. His father left when he was 5 months old, and it was very challenging because there was something wrong. It never entered my mind that it was autism, but he didn't speak, and it was so hard. And then when he got that diagnosis, I had to fight like I've never had to fight before for him.
Sure.
And when it was about me, it was easy to find an excuse to just be quiet, or, oh, I'll let that go, or,
Right, right.
grumble in my head. But when
Then
it
bite
came
your
down,
lip a little and
absolutely
Right.
be politically correct, if you will.
Mhm.
But when it came to fighting for him, I had to
The
muster up
claws
every
came
ounce.
out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think and I've recovered my son from autism, by the way,
Wow.
which is, just unheard of. But it was over those years, those very difficult, single mother living in New York, trying to make ends meet and recover a child from autism.
Wow.
And I had to find my voice. I think that was phase one of finding my voice.
Okay.
But there have been even more phases
But
since then.
that was sort of like the opening. That was where
Absolutely.
you found out you actually did have claws.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Because well, the funny thing is, I'm you're really hearing all my dysfunction. So I'm so pleased to be here. But
Sorry.
no problem. No, it's all part of the
It
story.
is.
And
It is. It's good.
I
It's
wouldn't
good.
change any of it. But
Right.
I was a runner. I would just run to the next thing. It was easier for me.
You were
instead
rooming,
of-
yes.
Oh yes.
We talk
Instead
about
of-
that quite a bit.
Listen, I'd rather move to a different state and change my hair color than have a confrontation when I was 24.
Sure. I was I was that guy. I know what you mean.
I mean, no
Yeah.
way. No way is that going to happen. You're right. I have to be quiet. I'll just have to move
Right. Right.
and start over.
Yeah.
But then when the game changes, when you can't just do that anymore, you got to do something. And I had a child that needed services, and I had made a commitment to, hey, you didn't sign up for this, and I'm going to fix it.
Right. Right.
So, that was definitely the opening of the whole deal. But up until that point, I had really let far too many people direct my steps, and it was because I did not have the courage to say what I needed to say. Partly because I didn't have the courage, but partly because I didn't know how.
Yeah.
I'd never learned
Right. Right. Yeah.
because I'd never been allowed.
Right.
How can a kid learn how to do something if they're never taught or never allowed to learn how?
So talk a little bit about how does that recovery go? Because that's fascinating to me. I mean, I've never heard of someone call it recover an autistic child. They still have autism, but you've got them to their highest function.
Well, mine's diagnosis was removed.
Oh, whoa, okay.
Mm-hmm. So that's, and it's funny because I don't talk about it a whole lot, not because I have any problem with it, but because this is what happens. I'll give you an example. My next door neighbor is a nurse, and she and I were talking about it one day, and I threw it out there. Oh, I recovered my son. No, you didn't. There's no way that could happen. I'm a nurse. I know things.
Right.
You see, you run into that, and I'm tired. I'm not going to fight you over what I lived. And so he was quite severe, not the severest, but he didn't speak. He ran away. He banged his head. He would only eat beige foods of a certain texture. Everything had to be structured. Everything had to be regimented. He didn't sleep. He would fall asleep at 3 and get up at. It was just intense. And when my husband left, gave me the greatest gift of all by leaving, because that gave me the ability to do what I needed to do for my son.
Right.
So every program, every service, everything that was the best and I thought could serve him, I got him in it. And when it wasn't working anymore, I found something else. And we just kind of kept moving up
Just
the
kept
ladder.
going. Just
And
kept going.
it
Right?
just kept going. And I kept putting him in the right places, the right time, with the right services, with the right people. And the last school that he was in for 4 years, really, I really attribute so much to them, because at the end of those 4 years is when the Department of Education said, we're going to remove this. He's not autistic anymore.
Wow.
Now, does he function exactly like a typical kid? No.
Okay.
But is he above grade level? Yes. Does he need a smaller environment? He does better with it. Does he still require intensive services in occupational therapy and physical therapy and speech therapy? No.
Wow.
Not at all.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, it's really a Cinderella story. I mean, I'm so blessed.
That's amazing.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's and you talk about how your show is getting off the path. That wasn't in the plan at 24.
No.
Wasn't even on the radar.
That would be the quintessential unintentional Veer that you just have to
You better
deal
believe
with.
it.
Right. You weren't
go
asking
ahead.
for that. No.
No, and it was really interesting. When I was not happy. I'll be honest with you. When I got that diagnosis, I was like, how much more? How much more are we going to get rooked here? And I was standing in the occupational therapist office one day feeling sorry for myself, and how, all my friends had typical kids and what a rook. And, it's very, very early on in diagnosis. And I looked up on the wall, and there was a poem that's called Welcome to Holland. And it talks about how you get on the plane, you're pregnant, and you get on the plane and you're flying to Italy because all your friends are going to Italy. And the plane lands and the stewardess says, welcome to Holland. And you say, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be in Italy. And I'm not supposed to be in Holland. All my friends are in Italy. And she says, well, you're in Holland and this is where you're going to stay. So you can find the beauty in Holland or not. And from that moment on, the lion inside of me came out, and that's how we got this done.
Wow.
Because it was, that's right. This is my plan. This is part of my plan. This is part of my purpose. It's not about how I feel about it. I'm in Holland, and I'm going to find the beauty in it. And it dramatically changed my approach, which I think was beneficial for me to change his approach.
Yeah, and I get that, and it's good for you that you come to the place where you can honestly admit that you were pissed off, basically, at life, the universe, and everything. And who wouldn't be? It's an authentic emotion. I think all emotions, even the ones that you don't want to share because you think, well, like people that lose a loved one, especially say like a spouse or a significant other. They go through this period in grief where they're pissed at the dead person. And it's almost universal. And it's the most shameful. It's like, I'm the one that's alive. I don't have the right to be mad. But there it is. I'm mad. I'm angry. And yeah. Good for you. Wow. So that's
well, and I think that's, and I think that's a perfect example of what we're talking about here, finding my voice. 20 years ago, I never would have ever told you I was mad about it because I would have been so worried about what you would think of me.
Right. And that's a generational thing, too.
The people out there that have, yeah. But everybody, it doesn't have to be autism. Like you say, it could be death of a loved one. It can be death of a pet. It could be a car wreck. I mean, it can be anything.
Yeah.
And they're mad.
Yeah, I had another guest, and her name is Susie Miller. And she's a coach now, but she was also a therapist, a psychotherapist, I think. But anyway, she was in a very debilitating car accident when she was in therapy for years. And during, first off, she had to acknowledge the fact that surviving and being alive was a miracle. And then she was mad. And it took her a long time to admit that, to be authentically angry simultaneously and really grateful to be alive and mad at the same time.
Right.
And
Right.
that's just the way things go. I mean, anytime you get a challenge in front of you, I think you're going to go through these. It's almost like you're going to go through stages of grief.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to go through stages of crap like that,
Yeah.
If everything was smooth all the time, well,
That would be boring.
what? Yeah. Well, we'd never grow. We'd never learn. We'd never move to the next level.
Right.
And it's so ironic to me that I teach people how to use their voices when 30 years ago I was not allowed to use mine. But if I hadn't had the journey that I couldn't help the people that I help.
Right.
So there's, there's phases of being furious at my mother, but gosh, look at the gift. You got to look at the gift.
Yes. That's. Have you ever heard the term buried treasure? I mean, and insofar as like your greatest strengths are going to be hiding behind some serious amounts of pain.
Yeah, I truly believe that kind of stuff. Absolutely.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about how you made your way, because I know you worked as an actor doing TV commercials. So talk a little bit about how that was, because that sounds interesting.
Oh, I loved it. And here's another perfect example that ties into not being able to use your voice. I, of course, started doing this when I was 12, and
you started doing TV commercials when you were 12?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Doing theater in school and speaking, and my father's one and of course I adore my father, and he just passed away in February. But his one and only rule for all of his children was you're going to go to college, which I was furious about that anyway because I needed to go be a movie star. But whatever, I love you, Daddy. I'll go to college, and so I went to college and. As soon as I graduated, my undergraduate degree is from Baylor University, and I got offered a full-paid scholarship at California State Fullerton, and my mother didn't let me go. There was, again, another time for me to use my voice and say, I'm going, but I didn't.
Right.
And so I kind of had to regroup and started auditioning for television. I got an agent right away and started doing television commercials, and then kind of traveled all around in a bunch of different areas, California and Florida and Texas, doing television commercials. And I did television commercials, and I did a whole lot of spokesperson type work. I was the spokesperson for Shell for a while and did that until I was 27.
Okay.
And I have always had such a love-hate relationship with actors, which is really ironic, but I decided I wanted to do something else. So at 27, I got a master's degree because, getting another degree is my go-to for everything. Well, that'll fix everything. Just go, spend another $40,000 and get another worthless degree, Tracy. Yeah, that's good. I'm going to do that.
That's a good idea. Yeah. It'll make me feel good.
Yes, it'll make me smarter. So it'll put me on the right path. So I got a master's in child drama, and I directed plays all over the world.
Wow.
Never stopped really doing television commercials and industrial film and a lot of voiceover work, but not pursuing that as a career. When I was doing it full time, I was doing it full time. I wasn't a bartender actor. I was an actor.
Right.
And I was able to make my living doing it. And it was really, really great. But I think I don't know that it was meant to be my full career. I think that it was just a segment of it. And I think when it was time to stop doing it full time, it was time to stop doing it full time. I think the whole path has been orchestrated, and I think that the next degree and the traveling the world directing plays, I think that was just the next phase to get me ready for everything else that was going to come after that.
Right.
But it was great fun. Doing television commercials was great fun.
What was it like? I mean, is it like once you're in, you kind of like you have an agent and they're like calling you and you're saying, yeah, I'll do that. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I went on a lot of auditions and I was lucky. I got cast a lot. I was really good at television commercials. I never seemed to be able to get the film thing. And I never really wanted to because I liked commercials because with commercials, you go in for a half a day, you shoot it, and you pick up a big check. And that was like,
And
that
you're
was how,
done. Right.
yeah, and you're done. And that's
Yeah.
how I rolled. I didn't want to go sit on set for 15 hours a day and
Do
make
nothing.
yeah, and not make as much money. And I just loved it. I absolutely loved it. And again, just like the speaking stuff when I was 12, 13, 14, I was good at it. And I think that because I was good at it, it was really good for my confidence. It was really confidence and self-esteem. And I think everybody wants to be good at whatever they do. They get such a thrill out of doing it if they're good at it and they know it.
Right. Yeah. It's almost like the lights kind of turn up a little bit brighter when you're doing a thing that you love doing, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's like this
Yeah.
is where I can shine. And
Right.
yeah, it sort of energizes you. I feel that way about speaking in general. And it definitely I don't enjoy anything more than, talking to people on Skype.
That's cool.
I know.
That's cool.
It's a blast. Yeah. I hope someday I can make money doing it. But you
I
know
know,
what?
right?
It's cheap enough to do as a hobby, and I love it enough. So I'll keep doing it. But
Yeah.
I did plays and stuff when I was a kid too. So
Oh, did you?
yeah, yeah. And I have a couple of extemporaneous speech stories too. That's hilarious.
Oh, that's tough stuff.
Yeah, well, here's the thing is that's the kind of speech that I really like doing. Is just the unprepared off the cuff, what was it? Would they give you a little 3x5 card and say
Yes,
talk about
I know exactly what you're talking
talk
about.
about a number 2 pencil for 7 minutes, go.
Yeah. Now, see, back then, that would have traumatized me. I could do that now, but back then, that would have definitely not been my event.
Oh, okay.
Definitely.
All right.
I had to be prepared. Now I can do that kind of thing. But I admire that. That ability to think on your feet is such an important skill, to have today
Right.
in life.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's sort of like someday I'm going to get around to doing an improv class because I think those two things are related.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to do improv. I just want to take the class, just as a skill building thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Yeah. So, and then let's see. I did 2 plays in high school. And
What did you do?
I did. My first one was Little Abner.
That was my first play.
Get this. There's an awesome. Oh, congratulations. Who were you?
I don't even remember. I know I was really hacked because I wanted to be Moonbeam McSwine and I wasn't.
Moonbeam McSwine. I don't even remember that.
She was the one that
character.
got to carry the pig.
Oh yeah, and she got all the laughs from the crowad.
Yes, that was the part I wanted, but I didn't get it. But I'm not bitter.
You're
or
not
anything.
bitter or anything.
No.
Well.
I don't even remember the name of my kid. It was some small part.
Right. Right.
But-
So get this. I was another one of my friends was trying out, and I was in my junior year of high school, and I had no intention of. I didn't even want to be there. I was just waiting for him to finish his audition. Right.
Oh, how funny.
So I'm sitting there and I'm watching all of these people get up there and sing and do their audition. And I'm like, man, these people all stink. So
That's
I
great.
just decided to get up and I belted out this church song really loud, and everybody just went nuts.
That's great.
Yeah. And so I became Little Abner.
Oh my gosh,
Right?
that's so amazing.
Isn't that crazy?
It's awesome.
I know. And then I learned this other lesson because on our opening night, so you've done plays.
Oh yeah.
And you know what it's like if you make a mistake and then do the unforgivable. It's okay to make a mistake. You just got to go with it, right?
Right.
I broke the rule and said, "Oh yeah, we clap, 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 we screwed up or something like that, under my breath, right?
yeah.
And then everybody feels really weird. And
Yeah.
and the director came and chewed me a new one in between scenes, and they're like, that is not acceptable. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I won't ever do it again. And then every other time I screwed up, I just went with it. That was that improv thing. Right. Well, it was the first scene of the first night. So I had to get better fast. We had like 3 more shows. Right.
Oh, wow.
I mean,
great.
I did fine after that. It was just that moment of, and it was like the audience didn't even know we screwed up.
Yeah.
I told them we did.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. The audience usually never has a clue.
No. They don't know. They don't have the script. They don't know how the song's supposed to go. And so the other funny story about extemporaneous speech, and I've told this one before, so you're getting the abbreviated version because the audience has heard it before. Right.
Okay.
So I was in this business club, and I serendipitously, I sneakily, there was another guy, and he was signed up to do extemporaneous speech. His name was John Johnson. And the teachers had signed him up to take this, do this extemporaneous speech contest thingy for a business club. Mm-hmm. And they signed me up for a math test. And neither one of us wanted to do that. I didn't want to do math. He didn't want to do extemporaneous speech. So we traded and pretended to be the other person.
Oh, my gosh.
And we both won.
That is hilarious.
We admitted our little charade to our teachers right before they announced us as the winners. So the teachers had to run up and say, no, they didn't really win. They cheated. Kind of. I know.
Oh, my gosh. That's a great story.
But then I was like, wow, extemporaneous speech. That was fun.
So that's when you got hooked to that.
A little bit, yeah. Well, I knew I wasn't afraid, and most people were.
Yeah, right.
So
that's great.
That's got to be a gift, right?
Yeah, well, that's what I was just going to say. See, there you go. You've got something that, would traumatize half my client base.
Right.
Everybody's good at something, at something or some things. But we can't all be great at everything. It just doesn't work that way.
Right. Yes, there's some sort of special kind of crazy that I am, and maybe you are.
Yeah, probably. Probably a good chance of that.
That gives us this gift of public fearlessness, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Where's that come from? Yeah.
Well, I don't know, but thank goodness I got something going for me.
Yeah. I liked how you talked about how most of what you're doing is, is all the technical stuff. It's like, okay, you have to focus on your voice, and then you have to get good at your presentation. But really, it's about building their confidence, right?
Yep.
So talk a little bit about how you use that confidence building in your training.
Well, I started noticing quite a long time ago that when people would come to me to improve their voice or, learn to do they have to do a presentation and they're traumatized, I couldn't sit down with them and talk about, well, let's build up your confidence. It doesn't work that way. So the approach that I use, that I've used for years, that seems to really get great results, is very much technique. And when I say technique, I say things like, okay, this is you want to roll this into your voice. You want to have shades or variables of speed or volume, and I teach them exactly how to do it, and they do it, and we celebrate it. And with each celebration, through the back door, I'm sneaking in the confidence, so that by the time I'm finished with them, they feel like a boss. Yeah. They think that, it's all that, well, they know. I act like I'm being some secretive, secret society here. They know I'm building their confidence, but it's through
you're not doing it overtly. You're not saying, okay, now we're going to work on your confidence.
No.
No.
Because I'm giving them an actual skill set that's apply, execute, and receive a victory from. And it is from that victory that their confidence soars. Right. And at the end of the day, they need the technique, but more than anything, every one of them that comes to me needs confidence.
Oh, yeah.
And it's because, I have this concept called the dings versus the victory box. And I think that we hold the ding box and box get like the dings on your new car.
Okay.
And we And we keep looking over at those dings. We keep looking at them and looking at them, and we completely forget the victory box is sitting over in the right hand. And so we have to fill up that victory box again so that the dings aren't so noticeable anymore, because life dings us
Oh yeah.
at every turn. And then it takes our focus, and so as it takes our focus, those dings destroy our confidence. So by filling up that victory box again, by look at what you did, that was great, that sounded amazing, oh my gosh, you're not doing that crazy gesture anymore, or listen to how fantastic your voice sounds. We're filling up the victory box, and we celebrate each one. And then by the time I'm done with them, they don't even remember they have a ding box.
Yeah,
I like to think that way.
That's great. I love it. Yeah, you can't let your dings keep you down, right? That's what I like.
No.
No, you have to wear them as a badge of honor.
Well, and what we tend to do, I think, is, you can have 99 compliments that you're awesome sauce, and you can have one that says, where are you
Right.
going to focus?
Right.
You're
Right.
going to focus on that one.
Yeah.
And that's exactly the concept of the dings and the victory boxes. We're focusing on, the professor who yelled at the that's where we're putting all our focus. And we're forgetting all the good stuff.
Yeah.
And it's the good stuff that builds our confidence.
Yeah, I think
not
that
the dings.
that's there's a psychological sort of like bend in our brains. It's like a glitch, if you want to call it that. Is like, you don't believe the praise. You can't believe that. You do, but you go, yeah, okay, all right. Not by default. You can learn to, right? You can,
Right. Oh, absolutely.
yeah, but it's like you're automatically, by default, you're going to believe every little piece of criticism.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, how did you get into this wanting to teach what you're doing now? How did that start?
Well, when I was about 17, I had a voice that sounded a lot like this. And of course, I was working, when I was a teenager, it was fine. But by the time I got to be about 17 or 18 and was seriously considering being a professor, said, we got to fix your voice. And put me in some voice training that literally changed my voice, literally changed my life. And so it's always been a piece of my work. I've always done voice training along with presentation skills training or theater coaching or whatever I've done. It's always been a huge piece for me. But I would say probably about 10 years ago, I started getting hired specifically to train actors how to use their voice. What I've discovered over the last 3 or 4 years is really my gift. And I know it's my gift because I feel like nothing more than a vessel. The words that come out of me, that is aligned with my purpose, and I'm able to change people's lives dramatically in a short amount of time with the skill set is training. And I never sat down at 21 and said, I'm definitely going to be a voice specialist. That's definitely what I'm going to do.
But you found yourself in Holland.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I mean, I was the girl that couldn't speak. I was the girl that couldn't stand up for herself. I was the girl that couldn't use her voice. And now I coach actors all over the world to get to the next level with their voice. I have the missing link. I coach speakers how to captivate with their stories through the use of their voice. I teach women and men who are terrified of telling their boss or their boyfriend or their coworkers what they need to say, how to use their voice. It's the most powerful piece we have.
That's amazing.
And I know that now.
Right.
But I never would have known that if
you had to go
I'd been
through
allowed to use it. If I'd been able to use my voice 30 years ago, I mean, I don't know what I'd be doing. Probably be running a hedge fund or something, I don't know.
Who knows? You wouldn't be in Holland.
knows?
You probably would be in Italy.
Yep. That's right. That's right. That's exactly right.
So when you were doing your thing, did you find that you enjoyed the authentic sort of the teaching more than the acting?
I loved acting, and I think that's why I left it, because I didn't love it anymore. And it didn't take me long after I started teaching to know that was one of my gifts, was being
Right.
a teacher.
Right.
And now there's no money in the world you could pay me to go back to doing anything really other than teaching, because to be able to sit in front of a human being and in an hour's time slot start changing their lives,
That's pretty amazing. Yeah.
it's a greater high than winning a speech award ever even was.
Right.
Oh,
And
to be serving my purpose,
right. Yeah, you found your purpose and you're living it. So that's amazing. I love that.
Yeah.
The thing is I know you did voice acting too. So I have another question.
I did.
Yeah, and this relates to. Do you know who Chris Hardwick is? It doesn't matter if you do or you don't.
The name sounds a little familiar.
He's around. He does like a lot of after show hosting, and he does a podcast called the Nerdist Podcast. He's a bit of a geek.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And he looks really good for a guy in his 40s. Let me tell you. I wish I.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he's a recovering alcoholic, and he's been recovered for a while, right? And he does stand up. And he works too much. I want to tell him, Chris, slow down. But I want to tell everybody to do that. I don't know him personally, but as I'm listening to him, I'm like, slow down. But anyway, he will tell his guests that that he never really liked acting so much because he didn't feel authentic up there, pretending to be someone else. And he always liked stand-up more because then you're being yourself, but a persona of yourself. Sort of. That's kind of like stand-up is kind of like a heightened fake version of you, which he can do, right?
Right.
And, it's kind of like what Howard Stern does on his radio show. I'm sure he's not like that, when he's hanging around with his family and friends. That's his on-air persona. It's still him. It's just, it's different than acting. So, but at the same time, Chris loves to do voice acting. So I'm wondering, okay, if he doesn't like acting, but he's okay with voice acting, what's the distinction? Because I'm thinking about doing voice acting and or voice over, anything related to voice work. I think I'm interested in. So. Is there a distinction there for you between those two?
Yeah, that's a really hard question.
It is. I know. And I've been thinking about it for a long time, and I don't know the answer. So if you don't know, that's okay.
Well, I know what I would say, but it's in direct conflict with what he would say.
Okay.
Because to me, as a technique teacher, the voice technique, and this is a technique perspective, the voice technique I lay in gets us to that authentic voice, where voiceover skills are more of a specific skill set.
Okay.
But you're not playing I think I know where he's coming from on that. You're not playing a character. You're using your voice. You're just using your voice with a specific skill set. I think is where he's coming from on that. From a technique perspective, like in my perception, that is a little more altered, but it's altered because of the skill set. Does that make sense?
It does. And I get you. For sure. Well, Tracy, this has been a blast. I mean, have we come full circle?
I know. I can't believe it's over.
Do we have more Veers left in Tracy that we didn't hit that need to get out?
Well,
wait a minute. We didn't say your URL. So Tracy's at captivatetheroom.com. Is there anything else we need to mention?
No, that's my new brand. The redsweaterlady.com is always going to be there.
That's there too.
But Captivate the Room is really where I'm going, because that's what I feel like. If you really know how to use your voice, and of course presentation skills as well, you really can captivate the room. And in the world we live in today, our brain tells us every 90 seconds to check out. So if you're going to talk to people, you got to be able to captivate them. You got to be able to engage them. You've got to be able to reach in and touch their soul. And that's captivating the room. So that's kind of the direction I'm trying to move into, but I'll still keep dragging that red sweater around everywhere I go.
Aw.
I love that red sweater.
Yeah, the red sweater opened up a lot of doors for you, even though
It really, it's really bizarre. And there have been so many twists and turns from autism to not being able to speak to being a sought after speaking coach to, it's just, I just sit back and I smile
Yeah.
because I couldn't have planned it better.
Let me ask you this. Did you ever get into meditation?
Only recently. Well, I've had moments. I've had moments on and off.
Okay.
Moments on and off. But I tell you what I'm really into, what I've really been into lately, and it's kind of meditation, but it's very much mind mechanics.
Okay.
Replacing old beliefs with new ones.
I love that.
And it's really made an impact on my life because there were a lot of old beliefs that really had been around far too long. And I don't do well with still. And so I've always tried to meditate. I've had some successes and some where I veer away from it and blow it off. But I think it's great. And I think, this stuff that I'm doing now is very close to meditation. And because I'm seeing such incredible results from it, I like to see results. Who doesn't?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
So I'm liking it, But we've got to, I think everybody has to find a way, especially in the world we live in today, to gear down.
Yeah.
I read an article the other day. They said that they thought technology was going to make our lives easier. Yeah. Who said that? I want to talk to them. Because if I'm not in a session, I am replying to emails, text, phone calls. It never stops.
It never stops. There's the thing. You have to teach yourself to turn it off and turn it on.
I know. We could sell that in a bottle too.
Yeah. Who was it? I'm a bit of a podcast junkie, and it works because I'm a podcaster. But there was this guy, and he was a what's his name? Josh Wheatskins. I'll try to shortcut this story because I've told it before. But he went into he was first a world-class chess champion at a really young age. And then later on, he got bored with that, so he decided to get into martial arts.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So, and basically, he learned that mastery transfers was one of the gists. But the other one of the other big gists was learning how to quickly turn it on and turn it off, your thing. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I agree.
Because if you leave it on, you burn out in that heightened state.
Yes, it's true.
Right.
It's absolutely true. So, it's like being in crisis mode all the time.
Yeah, well, yeah. In
a way.
A bit, yeah. When you want to get amped up, especially in martial arts, that is like right on the brink of, it's not on the brink. It is fight or flight because you're fighting. Right. But he told a story of this other master martial artist who was so good, he had mastered the turn it off. He would literally sleep right up until it ding, and then he'd wake up and stagger into the ring and tear apart his enemies.
Oh man, I would love to be able to do that.
And then turn it off again, and then go, okay, let's go get a beer.
Golly, that's impressive. That's really impressive. Right? Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah. Well, this has been great, Tracy. I appreciate your time.
You're so much fun. Let's do this again.
Definitely. I'm going to put you on the 6 months to a year down the road. We'll talk again. We'll catch up.
Yeah, let's do. And if I ever do a podcast, I'm going to invite you on.
That's awesome. You should do it. If you need help, let me know.
I will because the technical piece just blows my mind.
It's not.
I should do it.
You should do it. You can do it.
Yeah, I can do it.
Get the lioness on it, and she'll be all over it.
That's right. No, it'd be like a boss.
Thank you so much, Tracy. You enjoy your weekend.
Thank you. You too. Thanks a lot.
All right.
We'll see you soon.
All right.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for taking the time to ride along with us on another episode of Vroom Vroom Veer. For podcast info and show notes, be sure to head over to vvveer.com. That's VVER.com. Man, that's fun to say. And we'll catch up with you next time here on Vroom Vroom Veer.